Mode.
Well, hello, welcome everyone. This is Abigail speaking. Good morning and good afternoon for some. I know we have some participants from Asia today, so good afternoon to them. Thank you very much for joining us today for this new event of the ICC Academy, the webinar, The Essence of Coaching with Joseph O'Connor. Before we move on, I would like to perform a short sound check. Just if you can give me feedback that you can hear me okay by raising your hands, that'd be very useful. So you have a little hand there. Okay, good. Great. Great. Thank you very much. Now we can move on. I would just one more tiny thing. I would like to let you know that I will be running the webinar, so you can contact me at any time if you need any help or you have any questions. Just by typing on the question box, you will be able to contact me and we will assist you as soon as possible. Okay, so without any further ado, I would like to welcome Joseph O'Connor. Joseph, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Abigail, and good afternoon, good evening, I think, to most of you in that part of the world. We've got a nice morning here at 11 o'clock in London, and it's good to do this, the essence of coaching. I know that many of you are in Malaysia, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Singapore. I've been to Hong Kong and Singapore, but I've never been to Indonesia, and I'm very much looking forward to going to Jakarta as a guest of Irene Corrie in December this year. So in this webinar, just want to say a few things about coaching, our kind of way that we take coaching, and hopefully give you some ideas, some practical things. I'll probably talk for about half an hour or so, and then we'll be open for questions, because your questions are the most important. As in coaching, the questions are more important than the answers. Good questions get good answers. They get things that you wouldn't have thought of. So let's go straight in. The essence of coaching. There's a lot about coaching. It's very, very popular throughout the world. It's growing. It doesn't have any charismatic guru figures to drive it. It's going particularly through the results, particularly in business. And this is great. This is exactly how it should be. And just to frame the big picture of how I'm thinking of coaching. So first of all, most coaching, of course, is a coach and a client. A coach is helping a client to be the best they can be. We're going to go into a little bit about what that is about. So it's a personal thing. It's very personal. It's very unique, and it helps people. It helps people to change their behavior. It helps people also to develop, to become the best that they can be, to move forward in their life, not just being more successful, but also developing to be a more complete person. It's also, I think, transformational in the sense that people change. I was talking with an ICC trainer just yesterday saying about how they really wish that they'd taken a group photograph of the first morning of the delegates in the ICC training, and then a photograph on the last morning, and done a compare and contrast. You know, this is this is first morning, this is last morning. Look at the difference. You know, difference in colour, difference in smiling, different people. People grow through coaching, and people grow through the coaching training in the ICC, and this is wonderful. So not just personal, of course, also coaching is for teams in business. It transforms businesses. Executives, that's my particular interest. And also I think it's a great thing for social change. I think coaching has an important part to play, especially now globally, in terms of changing and transforming businesses and changing and transforming the CEOs, the very bright and good people who run businesses, in order, in the end, you know, to make a better world, to make a better society. And this is the big picture. So I like to think of that as a kind of Russian doll. You know, you start with one person, but through one person, who knows what you're affecting? And this is why coaching is so important. Good. Okay, so this webinar will be recorded, so anyone will be able to get a copy. Let's move forward then what is coaching? Well, there's a saying that says if you try and define something, then you misunderstanding it, and coaching is certainly a very big field. I'm very glad it's a verb. It's coaching. It's doing something. And here's a few definitions, just, like shining a spotlight on something very big, just to see a few important things about it. So it's a process. It's, as I say, it's a verb. It's something that happens between people, of exploring the present and designing the future. Unless you explore the present, unless you know where you are, there is no way that you are going to be able to design a future and move forward to a future. You've got to know where you are. Otherwise, it's like, you can't get to somewhere if you don't know where you're starting, because the route will be different. So awareness, present moment awareness, is really important. It's half of coaching. It's becoming aware of what's there. And then the other half is, well, okay, where do you want to go? And designing is something that you do, that you create. Maybe creating the future is even better than designing the future. So it's about present and future. It's not about past. It's not about kind of looking at the past and moving over it and anything else. The past is past. And we use it as a stepping stone to move through the present to a future that we want. The second little definition here, helping people to think better by exploring their values and assumptions. So we talked about designing the future. This is about goals, very important in coaching. What do you want? And then the other two things, values, what's important. Because we don't do anything, we don't move forward into the future, we don't have goals unless they're backed up by values, unless they're important to us. There are a million things that we could do, and we choose some of them. We have to choose some of them. Time is it's a limited resource, so we can't do everything we want to, and the things that we do, the goals that we have and the goals that we drive for, are ones that we value. So always backed up by values. And the other thing, of course, is assumptions. The assumptions are our habits of thinking, and these habits of thinking can be limiting if they stop us, and they can be empowering if they move us forward. So this is why coaching is about helping people to think and feel more intelligently, to explore their ideas in order to move forward. So there's a couple of things. Here's another one. The art and science. I think coaching is an art because it's about people. It's about human beings, and anything about human beings has got to be artistic. It's got to take into account the beauty and the humanity of people. It's not just about a technology. However, there is a methodology. Coaching does have a definite methodology. It is different from training, it's different from therapy, it's different from facilitation, it's different from consulting. It has its own methodology. And my wife and partner Andrea Lages and I tried to show what that was in a book called What is Coaching, basically. How Coaching Works. It's called How Coaching Works. To achieve what they want, so goals, but do not think is possible. So it's kind of going beyond what we think is possible, and sometimes this is our limitations, it is the beliefs that we have that limit us. And one of the things that I think is really important for coaches to remember is that a problem is a problem built by the way that we think of the situation. In other words, thinking about the situation and the way that the issue is structured and thought about by the client is part of the problem. It's not like a puzzle box, you know, where you go, oh yes, well I know how to solve this and we can just tinker with this. It's not a Rubik's Cube. It may look like a Rubik's Cube, but in fact it may be a jigsaw puzzle or something else. But the fact that we think it's a Rubik's Cube makes it difficult. This is the point. So our our work as coaches helps people to think and take different perspectives about their situations. So next we have three basic questions, I think, that defines coaching. Here's the first one. Where are we now? So this is what I said before. It's about understanding, exploring the present moment in order to know where you are, in order to be aware of the kind of habits of thinking and situation at the moment. So that's first coaching question. That's the basic question behind it. Second question, where do we want to be? So this is about the goals and the values of what's important about that. So towards the future. And those two questions, they establish a gap, because if where you are is where you want to be, then you're perfectly fine. You have no need for a coach. You wouldn't take a coach or anybody to help you, because you are exactly where you want to be. The difference, the tension between where you are now and where you want to be is the coaching journey. And where you are now can be perfectly okay, but where you want to be is more attractive. Where you are now may be uncomfortable, and where you want to be is better. There's both dynamics work, but certainly in my experience, coaching is not therapy, so coaching is not about remedial, making things better of clients who have big problems. A lot of coaching clients, in fact the majority of coaching clients, are fine. You know, they're doing very well. Very often they're very successful people. And they know that they can do better. They really want to push forward to make the most of what they've got. And this is what a coach can do. And this is an important job for a coach, and a wonderful job to help people shine. So that's the second question. And here's the third. So there is something in the way. There is something that's blocking them. What is that? Once we've defined the two ends of the rope, we can see what might stop them, and then we can help design a pathway between one and the other, taking into account the resources that they have, the risks that they might have in making that journey, all the other things about the journey. It's not just about them, it's about all the people with them and their work, their family. So lots of things come into this. But those are the three basic questions, and if those three questions are answered clearly by the client, then it's easy. And of course coaching is about action. It's about the client taking action and moving, actually putting one foot in front of the other. Okay, so some things, kind of big picture around coaching. One very important thing about coaching is goals, as I've said, about what do you want. And I think we can explore goals a little bit more, because I think there's more to be said than just, you know, what's your goal. And I like to make a distinction between goals and expectations. Expectations are something that are driven from the outside. You expect something to happen, and whether it happens or not doesn't have a lot to do with you. I expect that it'll rain today, seeing as it's England, and there's some dark clouds. I have no power over that. I expect the sun will go down tonight and it'll come up tomorrow. Again, I have no power over that. That's my expectations. So that's one way of thinking about, as it were, what happens to you. Now the other way is to think about goals, but to think about them as you being proactive, as thinking about, this is something that I want, that I am prepared to do something about, and they come from the inside. So goals are about something that you want, that you're driven towards, that you're prepared to go for. And therefore, whether you get it or not, you're not going to be disappointed. The thing about expectations is that you can be disappointed. And disappointment is that kind of strange mixture of anger and sadness that comes up when we don't get what we want. But the attitude of goal setting is you do your best, you go for it, and then you get it, and you certainly learn something. And sometimes the very fact that you've set the goal, even if you don't reach the end, the top of the mountain, you will get much, much further than you ever thought possible on the way up the mountain. Again, relationship with goals. Language is kind of tricky because we talk about getting goals or achieving goals as if they're something almost tangible that are out there in the world and you just have to put out your hand and get them. And of course it's not that simple. One of the things about coaching is to change your relationship, or at least make you think about your relationship with your goals and your values. So there's three main types of relationship with goals, and I think the first one is here on the left, acquisition. Acquisition means there's a goal, it's out there, and I'm going to get it. This, to some extent, disempowers you because it puts the goal outside of yourself, and certainly it moves you towards it, and you're grasping for it, but it doesn't make you as a creator of what's happening. It kind of rather static picture. Second way you can think about goals is over there on the top right, attraction. So attraction is, well, okay, I attract my goals. This has become a very popular way of thinking about it with the film The Secret. So you don't need to reach out and grab them, but if you think in the right way, you'll attract them. Again, there's a problem here because attraction can just be another way of acquiring, only it's a passive way. You know, you sit back and think instead of reaching forward and grabbing. It still doesn't put you in the picture. It's still about something out there that you're hoping will come to you. Whereas the third one there at the bottom about creation, if you think about creating the goals, this puts you in the driving seat. First of all, you create what you want. You think about it in a particular way. Your goals are not going to be the same as anybody else in the world. And secondly, you're continually creating. You're a creator. You continually create the pathway, the stepping towards, the climbing of the mountain. You are in a position of being a creator as opposed to someone who sits back and is more of a victim of their environment. The victim sits back, hopes and expects that things will come to them and is disappointed if they don't. The creator knows that they are creating their life and will move forward in that way in order to create the life that they want. And that relationship is a critical one. And if there's one thing that coaching does and can do and does very well, it's moving clients from a position where they feel they are a victim of circumstances and things are happening to them, to a place where they feel that they are the creator of what they want and they are moving forward towards what they want. So completely different mindset is one of the greatest gifts I think that coaching can give. So a little bit more about coaching. Here's the goal, and the question is, what do you want? And it's a fairly cognitive process. Yeah, you think about it, and human life is thinking, it's cognitive, and you're moving towards what you want. But it's not just cognitive, it's not just thinking. It's about value as well. It's about what's important to you. What do you admire? What are those things that really matter to you? What are those things that have meaning to you? What sort of things do you really want to leave behind you that people remember you by? And those are values, and those always come into goals. So it's not just about what you want, it's not just about a thinking, it's about a feeling as well. It's about, why am I doing this? And it's an emotional process. And emotions, the meaning of the word, the same root, motion, it's about movement. Emotions motivate, they move you forward. So very important dynamic, cognitive and emotional, goals and values. And then thirdly, this third pillar of coaching, belief, assumption, presupposition, habit of thinking. It's a habit of thinking, it's a way that you think about things. And a habit, of course, is something that you do without thinking. So there's an interesting paradox here. What do you think without thinking? What are the ways that you think that just seem to be right to you, that you don't reflect on, that could be holding you back? They're kind of in your blind spot. They're kind of invisible. And this is what a coach can help you with. What a coach does is help you to reflect, to shine the light on your own thinking in a way that you can't really do yourself. To really explore, well, what do I think about this? What am I assuming about this situation that may or may not be true? Maybe I need to think more clearly. So those are the three pillars of coaching: goals, values, and they're sometimes called beliefs. I prefer to talk about habits of thinking because it gives a better kind of way of thinking about it. Assumption is another word, of course. We assume things. We assume things that we think are true, but in fact may not be, because they can date back from many years ago. All our assumptions and beliefs have a date stamp on them, like tins of food, and sometimes we don't examine the date stamp and we kind of think it's okay, but it's been formed long in the past when you were a different person, and now you want to be a better person. So those are the three, and here's the dynamic. Strategy. How do I do this? How do I move forward? How do I take action, and what actions do I take? And coaching is very action-oriented. It's not enough to get insight. Insight without action leaves you exactly in the same place. Just maybe a little more insightful into why you're stuck, but just as stuck as you always were. So it's very much about action. And without action, nothing happens, nothing changes. The coach has presence. One of the important things about coaching is not just the skill of asking good questions, but the presence, the ability to listen, the ability to be present in the moment for the client. And that's what makes coaching a uniquely human service. You as a coach, you are unique. You are not a commodity. You can't be bought, in fact. Coaching can't be bought. It can be given. Because what a coach does is listen and pay attention. And this is priceless, really. Of course, coaches sell their services for reasonable amounts, but it's worth remembering that what you're giving as a coach is attention and listening, together with the skill that backs that up. And this is what one of the most transforming of things that the coach can do. And we've all had, I think, that experience maybe in a party, you know, where you're talking with someone, but their eyes are flicking over the room to look for other people, to see if there's anything interesting else. You know, maybe they want some food, maybe there's that interesting person over in the other corner that they should be talking to, and they're not that interested in you. You're just someone who's happened to be talking to them at the time. And this makes it really, really difficult to talk. It's like you dry up. It's like if people aren't listening to you, you don't know what to say. You lose faith in your own speech. When someone's really listening and really paying attention, that's when it's easy to talk. That's when important things come forward. That's when you feel you're able to share. So let's not forget that human part of coaching. Listening. Coaches listen. They listen to what the client says, and they listen to what the client doesn't say, what the client leaves out, because everything is defined light and darkness. You can't have light without darkness. You can't have the swan here in this picture without the question mark. Is it a swan? Is it a question mark? Not a good question, because it's a closed question. It's both, actually. It's a swan and a question mark. It has to be both. If you concentrate just on the question mark, you miss the swan. If you concentrate just on the swan, you miss the question mark. You've got to see both. You've got to listen for what the client says and what the client misses out, because that can be just as important. So then, if we put the pieces together, that's the big picture for me anyway, the essence of coaching, that really boils down to real people, two real people, a coach and a client facing each other and exploring the client's life in a way that really helps them move forward. And if they're a business person or an executive, helps them move forward in their business. And lets the business move forward. I think I can stop there. That's about half an hour. It's more or less what I thought I would be speaking for. I'm sure there are questions that occur to you as I've been talking, so I'm very happy to open out now to any of your questions for 10 minutes or so, and look forward to your thoughts on this. So Abigail, if you could take control of that now, and
Yes.
anyone who'd like to talk, please feel free to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Simon is asking, what do you mean by a more complete person?
Good question. Okay. I think, and this is my opinion, that we develop, that human beings have a kind of trajectory, and if you look at time as it passes, we're all born as babies, and we all go through the same growing up process. So we learn to walk and talk, we learn to think more and more clearly. We have an 8-year-old daughter, Amanda, and she's bright and wonderful and happy, and certainly, you know, I don't give her advanced maths to do, and I don't expect her to talk about politics or the state of the world or anything like that, because she hasn't come to that yet. She's not developed to that yet, and this is fine. And then, you know, she'll become an adolescent, and with all the challenges and problems and joys that brings, and then to an adult. So human beings go through stages of development, both emotionally, of how they deal with their emotions, emotional intelligence if you like, and cognitively, of how well they think, and spiritually too. And then we kind of assume by the age of 18, 21, maybe 25, that's the end of it. You know, just because the body has grown to its full extent, we think that our mind and hearts have grown to the full extent as well. And I don't think we have. I know that it hasn't been true for me. I've continued to grow, and I see other people given opportunities to continue to grow, to think better, more clearly, to be more emotionally intelligent, to move forward as a human being. And exactly what that means for you, of course, is unique to you. But that's what I mean by growing up, by developing in a human way to be fully human, as the most you can be in this life.
Great, Joseph. Thank you very much. Jana is asking us if you have any preference as on how long should coaching sessions be.
I usually say an hour, but I make it flexible, so an hour to an hour and a quarter, I say. I think that a boundary is important. Otherwise, it kind of doesn't focus. A race always has a finishing point. That's what makes people sprint towards it. But I like to leave a bit of flexi time at the end, because it's one of these funny things about a coaching session. Very often there's a breakthrough or something really interesting comes up just towards the end of the session, and it's really important to be able to pay attention to that. It's really strange. It's happened so often. You're just thinking about what, coming to the end, and then big insight or something really important from the client. So that's what I say. I go to about an hour and a quarter usually, and I work in usually groups of 6 sessions, kind of packages of 6 sessions of an hour to an hour and a quarter, spread over a time that suits both me and the client.
Great, great. Asima is asking if there's a big difference between coaching and NLP.
Yes, there is. NLP, let me try to get it as succinctly as possible. NLP is a methodology of modeling. Modeling meaning looking at the modeling, looking at how people think about something and learning from that and then teaching it to other people. It has a lot of techniques. It's certainly based quite a bit around trance work and altered states. But of course, as a psychology, it covers a lot of the same ground as coaching. And it's interesting to note that coaching and NLP grew up at more or less the same time from very similar roots in California, with Esselin and humanistic psychology and people like Maslow and Carl Rogers. So there's similar roots there. But I think NLP has a very definite, clear methodology with definite and different ways of thinking. It's more applied to therapy as well. It doesn't have to be, of course, but there is NLP therapy. Whereas coaching has a different methodology. It's more focused around business increasingly, and it's not used in therapy. So yes, there is a difference. That's not to say that some of the concepts and ideas don't overlap, and it's not to say that knowledge of NLP doesn't help in coaching, because I think it does, but they are different.
Great. We are having some very interesting questions here. Victor is asking, what do you do when coaching within a team you find individuals with a different, even contradictory goals?
Mm-hmm. Yes, team coaching is about, first and foremost, getting the team to agree on a goal and move forward to it. So as long as the team goal is agreed and congruent and everybody's moving towards that, you can work with it. And there'll be, of course, separate and different goals. People do things for different reasons. They have other agendas. That's okay as long as it doesn't interfere with the team agenda. If it does interfere with the team agenda, then that will be a problem. It will generate conflict in the team, of which there are ways that a team coach will deal with that, which we teach in our team coaching course. And sometimes it's necessary to have individual coaching sessions with members of the team if there is some divergence or difficulty with particular team members. That's something that we often do as well, just to try and sort that out. So yes, two approaches. One is the individual approach of individual coaching to sort it out with a person, and then they go back into the team. The second is to let it work out in the team, with the team dynamics, with conflict resolution coaching.
Great, thank you, Joseph. Paula is asking us, what do you think about online sessions?
Online coaching sessions, I think they work up to a point. I always like to meet my clients personally. That's just my preference. I know that in many countries, particularly the US, a lot of coaches work purely by telephone. I prefer always to meet clients in the flesh, because there's, it's a real person. If that's not possible, then I'll go for webcam because at least then you have more channels of communication. It's about channels of communication. If you're on the phone, then you have just the voice and words and the vocal style and the voice tone. If you have a webcam, you have facial expression and body language. So you've added two very important channels of communication there. And if you're then present with the person, there's something there then about presence and that makes it more real, I think. So those are my preferences. Certainly I've done some telephone coaching and I do a fair bit of coaching by webcam, and wherever I can I do face-to-face coaching.
Great, thank you, Joseph. Monica is asking us, do I need to have worked in a hospital if I want to coach a doctor, or to have worked as an executive in a company exporting steel to coach an executive in that kind of company, or is coaching on a more personal level?
Coaching's on a more personal level and a process level. So, you know, your skill as a coach is about the methodology and your intuition and your asking questions and your presence, these sort of things. Now, that being said, I think, and also there are advantages to this because you can ask the naive questions, perhaps that the person takes for granted, you know. People do take a lot of things for granted because that's the way that they've always done it. And you come in as a coach, you don't know specifically how the business works. You can ask these questions that really make people think on a deep level, and that's great. I've coached in my time quite a lot of people in financial services and banks, and I certainly don't know the way that, you know, banking is quite complex, a complex work, and I don't know how that works. I've learned a lot about it in my coaching of executives in banks. So you don't need to know, you don't need to be as good as the person and to have the knowledge of the person, the client who's working there. They're the one who's going to be doing that. They're the one who's going to be working there. But you do need to have, I think if you're going to work in business, you do need to know how business works. Otherwise, you're not credible. And if you're going to work as an executive coach, it's very, very helpful to have worked in that kind of position, either in employment or in self-employment. First of all, it gives you credibility, and secondly, it helps you to know the sorts of challenges that these people are meeting, and it gives you a kind of empathy right from the start. So the answer is a qualified yes, it is a personal service, but with qualifications that get stronger and stronger the further up you go towards executive and business coaching.
Great. Thank you, Joseph. Another question?
Yeah.
Good. What is your opinion of the coach writing up the summary after the session? What is your practice? Asks Simon.
Oh, writing up after?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think there needs to be some way that you keep track, and of course these notes are purely for your use, and everything is confidential. And the notes can be in any way that you want them to. Otherwise, you know, you don't want to be in the embarrassing situation where you've got a client, you know, you've got a client, and then you go, well, oh yes, and how's your banking business going? And they go, actually, I'm not in banking. I'm in medicine. So you know, you want something. You want to be able to prepare for your sessions. So what I normally do is I look over I take very brief notes, just of almost like little triggers or anchors for my thinking that puts me back into the session, and I can remember then back to what the client was saying and kind of follow up from there. So the intention of the notes, if you take them, is to help the client more and not have to spend the first 10 minutes talking about what they talked about last time, so that they can bring you up to speed. As I say, always within confidentiality and data protection.
Great, thank you. Thomas is asking, what is your educational background? I have psychology and business educations and long business experience. Is it worthwhile to get a coaching certificate?
There's two questions there. My background is weird. I did a degree in anthropology, actually, at London University, and then I spent many years as a professional classical guitarist, where I gave concerts, both as a solo guitarist and also as in ensembles, and I did a lot of teaching. And I kind of moved on from, because it was so interesting, and again, art and science, music. I got interested in how people think and how they learn and how I would be the best teacher. And top performers, you know, how is it the top performers taking their musical instrument out onto stage in front of thousands of people are able to do so well, whereas other people would collapse in a heap, you know, a heap of jelly, and not be able to do it. How are people able to give their best? These are basic coaching questions, actually, that I came into very close contact with in my work as a guitarist. How do people deal with their best performance and give their best under stressful situations? And there's nothing more stressful than walking out on a stage with a piece of wood and 6 strings in front of 1,000 people, and you know, with the critics in the front row with their score of the piece of music that they're going to play, just waiting for the mistake. And you know, how do you pass on? How do you teach? How do people learn? So this is what brought me to coaching, and I've been running, Andrea and I have been running our own business now for the last 15 years in coaching and training. And so, you know, I like to think that I've had a bit of both. I think a psychology degree is great. I think executive experience is also great. So you know, make use of what you've got, and if you haven't got what you need, go get it. Oh, and the certification. Yes, certification is important because it first of all, it brings you into a community of people. You know, the ICC has 9,000–10,000 coaches worldwide in over 60 countries. Because coaching can be a lonely job. A very lonely job, you know. A lot of coaches work just on their own or in small groups, and I think it's great to, especially globally, to be able to meet people, to be able to swap notes with people, you know, to come to the conferences, to join in the webinars from the academy here that have people from all over the world. And then the certification, apart from being a lot of fun, the ICC certification is a lot of fun. You learn a lot, and you get new perspectives, and it really not only gives you tools, great tools, but it helps you yourself develop as a person, because you're coaching and being coached solidly for 8 days, and that's a great gift. So I would certainly recommend that. I think it's a great experience.
Great. Thank you, Joseph. We have another question from Sophia this time. How can we define the present without speaking about the past? Clients often want to speak about the past.
Yes, they do. As long as we don't encourage them too much. Sometimes clients speak about what we encourage them to speak about. Sometimes we don't know we're encouraging them to speak about. Yes, if of course, the past informs the present. We are what we have been. We're the sum of that, but we're more than the sum of that. We're not just the sum of our parts from the past. We're much more than that. And the past can be, of course, a great source of inspiration and resources, which is great, so nothing wrong with that. It can be a source of learning, which is, of course, you know, bad experiences. If we learn from them, as I say to people many times, mistakes, you know, nothing wrong with mistakes. We all make mistakes. Just don't make the same one twice. Just keep making different mistakes. That's the way you learn, but not the same one twice. So I would say, certainly, if clients talk about the past, yeah, just in terms of understanding what's happening now, but it is happening now, and the focus is always on what's happening now and how can we move forward from that into somewhere that we want to go, regardless of what's happened in the past, but using and learning from it as much as possible.
Thank you,
I've got to
Joseph.
go in.
Yes.
I've got to go in a couple of minutes. So just maybe one or two more questions.
Okay. Teresa is asking us, how do you deal with the hidden agenda of the clients when you feel that clients are not telling you everything?
Well, clients, of course, they never tell you everything, but hopefully they tell you what's important and what you need to know, as it were, in order for them to move forward. On one hand, if they hide things from you, they are hurting no one but themselves. So, you know, if clients lie, they simply hurt themselves. They're basically paying you, and you can't help them. So it seems like a waste of their money. So that doesn't happen usually. Certainly clients may feel, you know, that everybody, clients are no exception, wants to appear in the best possible light when they talk to other people. So, you know, they may hold things back, and that's okay. And I will, if I think there is something more, as I sometimes have, what I do is I'll say something like, look, I try and make it specific. You know, maybe I see somebody who's sad or upset about something, but they're not talking like that. They're talking happy. So I say, yeah, this sounds great, and you know, I've just got this idea that there's something sad behind it, or you're a little unhappy, or a little afraid, you know, of something behind that. Tell me, is there anything there? And that, you leave the space, you see. It's about leaving space. Then if they don't want to tell you, and coaches have no right to rummage through clients' emotional handbags, so if the client wants to tell you, then they have a space to tell you. And if they don't want to tell you, they can say, no, that's fine, and that's it. So your acuity as a coach can give people permission and make it easier for them to tell you things that they may find it difficult to do. But again, coaching is not a confessional, and it's not therapy, so you're not usually going to have those sorts of difficult problems. So I've got to go in just 1 minute, so just one last question.
Okay, so Anastasia is asking, can you point 3 main tips so a person can distinguish a coach that is only after the money and from a coach who wants to help people?
Oh, talk to your coach first. If you're going to commit to coaching, you're going to commit to an important relationship, and always talk with the coach first. You know, the coach sees if you're good as a client, you see if they're a good coach for you, and go with your intuition, because a coach needs to connect you with your passion. And you know, if you don't feel motivated and if you don't get the results, then, you know, you could stop the coaching. I don't know about, I think it's, you know, I wouldn't want to comment on coaches who are just there for the money. Coaches are paid and should be paid well for the work that they do, which can be life-changing and business transforming. And so look for results, look for the 2 things, look for the results that you want and the human connection, and judge for yourself. I need to go and collect my daughter now. So I thank you all for your attention and your excellent questions, and I hope to see many of you in December in Jakarta.
Okay, thank you very much, Joseph, and thank you, everyone. Hoping to see you in another ICC Academy event soon. Thank you very much, and have a good day.